Hello, and welcome to the State of Decay 2 stream. I'm your host, Jeffrey Card, and over here we've got our Developer of the Month, Luis Yépez.
Hey, how's it going?
So Luis was the subject of an article that went up on our website just recently. In fact, he not only put up a profile article sort of talking about who he is, where he came from, and what he did on State of Decay 2, but also he did a Q&A with a bunch of questions from social media. So I think Megan and Jen, who are running our chats on Twitch and Mixer, might have links to that article, so you guys can go check it out. And we might actually have some giveaways for folks who get familiar with those articles and can answer trivia about what's in there. I'm gonna put Luis on the spot and make you answer questions about his life. So that's gonna be nice and entertaining. In the meantime, we should actually get onto the game. So where is my? There we go. Oh, did we just lose our Grillmeister?
I just lost it.
Man, we were this close to be able to show you guys the Grillmeister from the Independence Pack, but you probably already seen it before, a lot of you. So
Probably get some repair kit stuff here.
Oh yeah, so that one thing we're really missing in our community right now is repair kits. We got a bunch of busted up cars and no way to fix them. And so we don't have a mechanic in our base, we don't have a machine shop, and so we're not in a good position to make those repair kits ourselves. So we're gonna have to find them in the wild. Or find, hopefully maybe we'll find a mechanic's textbook in the wild, maybe we'll find a mechanic we can recruit. So we're gonna keep our eyes open for that kind of stuff. In the meantime, we'll mess around, and if you guys have any questions about how we build the world of State of Decay, Luis is the perfect guy to answer those questions. Actually, one thing that's kind of interesting that you and I collaborated on a little bit is this character's name. So this guy, if you look at, so his name is Josean, which I think is short for Jose Andres.
Oh, okay.
And so we had this, like, when I was going through creating the name lists, Luis was my go-to guy for Mexican nicknames.
Yep.
Because he's very well versed in the names of Mexico. Oh, holy crap! Let's not distract you. You're fighting a feral.
Yeah, they're.
Oh man.
They're
okay,
tough.
are we just about to lose Josean?
I hope not. No.
Are we gonna lose Josean just as we started talking about him?
He's not dead.
Oh yeah, no. Oh Oh, almost. Oh man, we're in trouble now.
Yeah.
Out the window. I think you got a gun.
Do I?
I think you do. Well, not at this range. Oh, every shot is just barely missing his head. Holy crap. You're gonna go down for the count, but I think you'll live through the first one.
If I just have stamina.
You're just all out of stamina, everything. Okay, he's taking some hits. Okay, you're down, but you can get up, you can get up.
I kick him.
Dodge. Oh, wait. Oh, okay. I thought that seemed dead. Oh, we're gonna lose it. That's fine. You know, we lose characters every single time. It is a tradition on our stream to lose characters.
I was not prepared for that.
No, he kind of came out of nowhere, didn't he? And I don't think are you using a close combat weapon with him?
I'm using the scythe, I think.
Oh, okay. You did have a scythe. Okay.
There we go.
Yes!
Oh god, now
you're in
now I gotta get out of here.
Yeah, like seriously.
I think I can do it.
Oh, that is awesome. Well, can you? Oh yeah, there we go. We can flip it. Nice. The door goes flying. So anyway, so it was interesting because I put together a list of Spanish names for characters with Spanish-speaking backgrounds.
Yep.
And I thought that was kind of enough, and I went to you to ask about nicknames and stuff, and there was actually like an interesting situation where I had a few different sources for different backgrounds, and there was one guy from Spain who looked at my name list, and he was like, "What are all these made-up nicknames? I've never seen any of this crap before. What are you doing, you idiot Anglo guy, trying to come up with Spanish nicknames?" And it was just he rejected everything.
Was there like a particular one that he jumped at, or?
Well, it was a lot of the names like Josean and stuff like that, where it's like cute combinations of double names and things like that. He was like, "What is this? I've never heard this before in my life."
Yes.
And then I showed the same list to you, and you're like, in Mexico, if you don't use one of those nicknames,
Yeah, it's interesting because like Latin nicknames and stuff like that, and compared to like English ones, I find that English nicknames are more darling names, like just diminutives or stuff like that, whereas Latin nicknames are random. It can be Sandal, like you could be called the Sandal. There's one of my favorite ones which is totally not appropriate, but you know they're just like they don't actually make sense. Like very few of them make sense, and I remember that was like something that you and I were talking about. It's like, well, that doesn't sound right. I'm like, I know it, like it just doesn't. But trust me, it's that's what they'll do. So yeah, I think the first thing I did was I just went through my friends list and started like typing all my friends' nicknames and stuff like that with the first pass.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, well, I have a whole bunch of friends that have nicknames, so.
Yeah, and that's actually, throughout like a lot of the different cultural backgrounds that our characters can come from, you'll see a lot of weird specific names you don't know where they came from. A lot of those are friends and family members of team members.
Yeah.
So it's not just you. It's like people all across the team were like, well, I've got a friend who's named Bob, but he goes by Sandal or something like that, and we're like, okay, we'll throw that in. Why not? You'll have a character named Bob, and he goes by Sandal. I mean,
yeah,
might as well.
So this is Jose.
Jose Andres, I think is his actual name. If you zoom in on him, so yeah, Jose Andres Moreno.
Yep. Yeah, no, that was one of the names for sure. Like we have like other ones. Hayden Secon. Yeah, some of the names, like, because I don't even know the full list of names that we have, and I see sometimes the name, I'm like, I don't know how to pronounce that name. We put together a Norwegian name list with Jürgen, and so there's a lot of names with unusual characters you don't usually see in English or Spanish. Yes.
Sitting in that list. There's a whole variety. We got a huge variety of names in this game, and we did everything we could.
We have a mission with her.
To grab people that we knew from different backgrounds who could give us like real expert opinions on these name lists.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty powerful part of the game. It's something like one of the questions I got asked was exactly about names. Somebody was asking about renaming characters, and
like, why can't we put in our own names?
Yeah, and like I mean, I wasn't necessarily involved with that, so I just kind of gave my 2 cents on.
So your answer was perfect. I was actually like. I was like, usually, like, you gave exactly the kind of answer that I would have given, and I did work on this all the time. I was like, man, Luis and I are on exactly the same page.
Yeah, so you have to take I mean, everything that goes into a game has to make sense for the game, right? It's not just like, oh, these 200 other games let you do this. It's like, well, it makes sense in their game. But I think the main thing I was trying to hit home with it was autonomy on the experience, and that is translated into so many aspects of our game that if we gave you that in this in the characters themselves, it would kind of just erase their background and the sense of history that we wanted to have with them, right? Like you're not designing the character, you're just that's what you're given. How do you make do with what you're given?
Yeah, this is a game about making do, right? It's a game about like getting into a bad situation and then figuring out what you're going to do with it. And so if you can just sort of manufacture your own dream team, it isn't the same as sort of taking what you got. And so, and in real life, if you were trying to put together a zombie survival group, you couldn't rename your characters.
Exactly. I mean, you could like just start calling it whatever you want, but you can't erase that sense of a past, right? And being that it's a game, it's like you need to ground these characters in something that is a little bit relatable into the real world and gives them the sense. I mean, and it's also part of the whole traits, right? Like where is it? Like on all the stuff that they end up like inheriting, what makes them good at something, stuff like that. That's like so strong.
I forgot. I did find a mechanics book. She's a mechanic.
Oh, is she? I didn't even look.
I found a mechanics book last time I played. I forgot that I'd done that, and so we probably can.
Oh, let's.
Build a. Maybe we don't have. I don't know if we have all the resources we need.
I don't know.
You can check the base menu if you want.
Oh, okay. Let me get this.
This. There might also be something in there that we want. So anyway, what we ended up doing was coming up with separate, like we have a separate like Spanish universal name list that we use for just any place where people speak Spanish, and it's just middle of the road, simplest, easiest nicknames. And then we've got a separate Mexican list, which
Yes.
is here's all the names that have Mexican nicknames and stuff that Mexican players will find familiar.
Yeah.
And hopefully, so we got a nice like sort of split between some characters are basically from Mexico and some characters are from all over the place.
And it's the same like English speaking languages, right? Like you have words that make sense here, but they have a different meaning in England.
Yeah.
For example, so the same's for Spanish. Like, so maybe this person that wasn't quite keen on them, being from Spain, has a completely different perspective on them because there are a lot of differences in words between Spanish from Mexico and Spanish from Spain.
Yeah, I've been watching some Spanish movies and stuff on Netflix lately, and the difference in the accent is like comes across really strong. Like the sort of the kind of the lispy S's compared to
like that. Yeah,
it's just interesting because I'll be. Now and then, I don't speak Spanish, but I know, the number of Spanish words that typical Americans just know. And so when they'll say one of those words, I'll be really surprised by the pronunciation of it because I'll be like, oh, I know that word, sort of.
Let's see.
So we did have our first question came from Han Solo Dolo, and he says, "Tell the truth, Luis. Jeff is the worst to work with, isn't he?"
There's several Jeffs in the office.
It's spelled with a G though, so I think it's pretty clear they're talking about me.
Oh, okay.
He's right. I'm right here though. I don't think he can give you an honest answer if he's sitting right next to him.
No, everybody's great in the team. So what were we gonna try?
We were gonna look at the base and see if we can. So look down here at our. We do have. Oh my gosh! I built everything and I forgot it. So can we actually build? Is it the? I thought that have I just forgotten what facilities do?
Well, we need a mechanic shop, right? Or what's it called?
Is it the auto mechanic that needs it? I thought the machine shop would do it. I mean, but by machine shop I mean the workshop 3. We used to call them machine shops. I think the one in the warehouse in Drucker is still called a machine shop, but the rest of them are not.
Let me see.
I think I might have just forgotten how you build toolkits. I think someone in the chat might have to tell me how to build toolkits.
Knowledge of mechanics.
Because I'm not Brian, and Brian's the one who knows the answers to all those questions.
I think you need that facility built. What's the name of it?
So it's down there at the bottom. The workshop 3, I think, should be
No.
that
It's
one.
the actual auto.
Oh, the auto mechanic. Okay, if you want to kill one of my farms, wait, no, we need to specialize her though before we can build that.
Okay.
So I think what we might need to do is just build other stuff with the mechanic shop. Oh, looks like we've got a special guest coming in.
Oh, look at that.
So we'll let that happen. Let's see here.
Let's see.
Oh, so this is an interesting environment art question. I'll get to that one in a second though. First, we got introduced that we've got a visitor here. We got Brant Fitzgerald.
Hi, everybody.
Taking a break from his sick leave to come and see us.
Now it's sabbatical. I've actually transitioned.
You've actually transitioned. Okay,
I've transitioned from sick leave to sabbatical.
All right. Well, we'll just look at Brant's beautiful face while we continue to.
Don't do that.
Is that dangerous?
You can't describe it as beautiful because then that sets up unreasonable expectations.
Okay, that's true. So the question, Blaze Experience has a question. What went into the decision to allow players to be able to travel through water? It feels strange to be able to drive through a river like we can. It's kind of a complicated thing, right?
Well, so it was something where you didn't want to quite, cause too many traversal issues when you're moving around them, and you kind of need water in environments in order to be able to sell like the lushness that we were going for. It created like just a really nice divide, like especially in this map. It allows you to kind of position yourself geographically where you are. Like once you cross a river, like you can see that the river, pretty much divides the map in two. So it made it really easy to help you position yourself. So like, okay, I'm before the river, I'm after the river, and all that stuff. And because of the way our zombies behave and all that stuff, it was just, we couldn't really stop you from entirely like traversing them. So it maybe breaks it a little bit, but the amount of gain that we get from allowing you to do so, I think like just far outweighs any kind of restrictions that we would have been able to put in place.
Yeah, if you think about what your alternatives are, right? Like so we could have no rivers in the game would be one option, and Drucker is a little bit like that because it's kind of a desert map, but the we wanted to have the variety, you know, like and you were saying we wanted to have like a lot of different lush environments and the navigational advantages. Like not ever having water is a really strict rule that we kind of wouldn't want to have.
Well, we also had some technical reasons for that too. Drawing, we never wanted the camera to get underwater because then you have to draw a whole new layer of screens.
Yeah, exactly. So like if you so we don't want to do no water in the game because that feels lame. We don't want to do you just drive up and there's an invisible wall stopping you from going in the water because that feels really lame.
You don't want insta-kill water because that's mean.
Yeah, and if you don't want to be able to just drive into deep water like you were saying, and you know, and then have just whatever weird camera issues and stuff like that you get with that. And so what you end up with is sort of the best of all possible worlds. Is the one where you have water, but it's all shallow enough it doesn't cause any of the problems.
The rivers are my favorite road in the whole game.
Oh, that's true. They're wide open and no obstacles. Yeah, it's great to just drive all the way down the river.
Though it's interesting. I was playing with P1 the other day, and and they were saying like, yeah, for the longest time I didn't go in the water just because the water's you don't take your car in the water.
Yeah, exactly. It's just you got all your instincts from real life. You know, you don't want to.
Exactly.
You don't want to do. You're about to get my mechanic killed, aren't you?
I'm gonna run away.
It's fine. I got time to fix it. Between streams, it's okay. So Hero Best One wants to know what is the best way to get skill books in the game.
Offices, I believe.
Offices, yeah, exactly.
Library.
Yeah. There's like I think not every map has a
Not
library.
every. Yeah, there's
two libraries.
Cascade Hills has a library
And the plateau.
Oh yeah, Drucker.
Drucker's
got a library up on the plateau.
No, it's over on the
East
far
side?
right side of the map. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but any building tagged as office has a high likelihood, I think, of having textbooks.
And then now there's textbook traders.
Oh, that's right. So yeah, this is kind of a new feature that got added in a recent patch.
Those guys are mostly selling the single star skills.
Yes, that's true. So I think there are traders who sell skill books. So I think any of the traders, there's a chance that some of them will sell just random skill books. So follow up so if you want to look for skill books, you go to offices, go to libraries, follow up on every trader opportunity that you see. And particularly, there's those rare skills, those rare weird skills like Scrum certification,
Lichenology,
and Lichenology. Those guys are available from the rare skills trader, who's a random trader who shows up in the game. Let's hear. So, Mr. Dart's Broadcast wants to know what is your favorite base, Luis, particularly from your perspective as a world builder. What base appeals you the most?
I really like the church in
the country church in Meager Valley, or
no, the other one,
big church in
the
Cascade Hills.
Cascade Hills. I really like that church, and I really like the summer camp here.
Oh yeah, is that Camp Kalinqua?
Yes.
It's down in the. We actually my guys used to live in Camp Kalinqua. We just moved to the Mazar farm.
I really like those two bases.
What is it about them that makes them stand out for you?
So I like the church, just like the setting, the theme of it. I like that it's up
on that hill and you can see it from all around.
And it's centered in the map itself, so it allows me to like just go into a lot of different areas with the least amount of traversal. So I don't have to like cross the entire map in one go. I'm already centered. And the reason I like the camp is just because it's a huge base and I can like build a lot of stuff without having to sacrifice a lot of decision making. So I just those two really, really appeal to me personally. So
cool. And let's see here. So Hansel Adolo is trying to get us to like hype future features here, which is it's a problematic area for us to get into because he's asking if time or resources were no issue, what dream feature would you want to see added to the series going forward? It's like anything we say is going to be like, oh, Undead Labs said that they're going to put X into the game.
Nice try, Solo.
So I don't know if we should answer that question. I mean, if you've got something that comes to mind that we will not promise to add to the game, go ahead.
Match 3.
A match 3 arcade game.
We're not going to do that?
match 3 zombie heads. Like I don't know.
A match 3 game in your supply locker. If you like get 3 of the same gun,
there you go.
They're all eliminated, and then
guys, I'm gonna take off because I just wanted to come in and say hi to everybody. But I did want to say, Luis, talk about visual storytelling in the vignettes and placements of, you have the same props, and yet you have to tell different stories with them. Luis has proven himself to be quite the master at setting up storytelling vignettes. Anyways.
Thank you. Thanks for coming, Brent.
Luis, a big hug.
We can talk.
About you.
Oh, that's fine.
If we can find a car.
Bye, everybody.
See ya.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Let's see. If we can find a car, I can take over to one over here that I know is pretty good.
That Legendary over there is.
Let me see. That one over there.
You could probably that one's low on fuel. You might want to bring fuel with you if you're gonna grab that one. You could also take one of the busted up cars over to that car and just not expect it to last very long.
Okay, let's see. I think I've done a terrible job with your car so far.
That is just fine. Like seriously, you can't possibly do worse. I think QA killed 2 of my characters. So so far you've actually been doing great.
All right, let's head over. Oh, I didn't grab the.
Oh, hey, while you're looking, we are 20 minutes in, and so we should actually do one of our giveaways. So I'm gonna switch into let's see here, quiz mode. We are over here in quiz mode, and we are gonna do a giveaway. So the way giveaways work. We're gonna have 1 prize for Twitch and 1 prize for Mixer. If you know the answer to the question, sort of chime in with it in the chat as fast as you can. And the first 10 or so people will do a random drawing to see who actually gets the prize, because we want to compensate for things like lag and bad internet connections, that sort of thing. And so here is our first question. And by the way, this is based on if you just got here. Megan and Jen can probably give you a link to our Developer of the Month article on Luis, because that's where these questions are coming from. These are not questions about State of Decay. These are questions about Luis. We're putting him on the spot. So here's the first question. What city is Luis originally from? So what city is Luis originally from? It's pretty prominently featured in the article. If you read the article, you probably remember it. People ask him why he ever left that city. It's actually it's a well-known city for being a really beautiful place. So go ahead and throw your answers out there, and we'll be paying attention. So Megan and Jen are gonna be watching what folks say, and we'll be looking for answers. And I should, I always have Mixer up there. We should have Twitch up there too. But
we're on both,
for now, we're gonna go back here and watch you hunt for a car so you can go show us some visual storytelling.
I'm almost there. There's like some of the stuff that Brant was talking about. You get like visual storytelling is one of those things where you don't think a lot about when you're a player, when you're a gamer. But it's the kind of thing that just like sets you into the world, lets you believe that this was a place that exists with you or without you being there.
Yeah.
So when we go about doing that as environment artists, you really don't have like dialogue, you don't have any script or characters to help you drive what you want to like tell in a place. So you have props, and the way you have to think about it is like, well, what would have happened in this place if stuff just like went downhill and people had to like up and leave immediately and stuff like that. So I'm trying to get to this one because I think there's, even though we have a lot of them. Oh, it's actually right over here.
Okay, cool.
So it's like, what would have happened, right? So in this case, one of the things we did in this fire station is that the idea was that there's layers, right? We want to try and do layers, being that this is about 2 years after the apocalypse. So it's not a single event. It's not like this place was functioning 100% and then only one thing happened. Like it was functioning and then 2 years have passed. So there's probably a slew of stories that have occurred in this area. So you have a story that might have happened to one community and another one that came in after them or something like that. So you can kind of see that we started doing things like putting signage of, hey, this is a safe place. Maybe it's when the apocalypse just hit. Come over, we'll help you. There are weapons here if you ever find yourself in need. But then as you start just exploring, you start seeing like all this stuff, like a lot of trash left behind. There's no trash pickup when the apocalypse hits, so stuff just starts to accumulate. And maybe the community itself grew up to a point where you know, you couldn't house people inside anymore, so they had to start camping outside here, and they just started making a shelter out of it. So they started to put, you know, get sofas, get tables, things like that. They just started making it a livable spot, and as you can see, there's a lot of bones and skeletons around. So something happened here eventually that just like did not go as planned. There's a lot of resources left behind, so they probably were caught off guard and, you know, didn't quite survive. So that's the kind of stuff that you try to do when you're trying to do storytelling, so that as I'm traversing here, even though I'm just purely focused on keeping myself alive, looking out for zombies, I get a sense of there was something that happened in this spot here. So that's when you say environmental storytelling, this is the kind of stuff that you're talking about. Without any story, any dialogue or anything like that, you're kind of telling something happened in this place, and you can kind of start piecing it together based on what you're looking at.
And since the design team really isn't writing a lot of stories, you know, for this world, really a lot, like most of our world building and, you know, like on a typical game with a linear story, a lot of times like the world building and the storytelling is usually something that the designers and the writers are doing. But on our team, it's really not that way. Like we come up with these tiny little vignettes too that the player can experience, but a huge amount of our world building and storytelling is solidly on the shoulders of your team.
Yeah, this project in particular made it really easy and really hard at the same time, because the nature of the dynamic story that we have and just player autonomy on what they decide to do, what they're going to experience, and how they're going to play it. It's kind of like, well, there's no wrong answer on what I put into the world. Anything can potentially apply to a given player, but at the same time, when you have we call it as artists, is like the blank page. When you're just starting out and you have like nothing on paper, it's the scariest thought, because you don't know what to put, you don't know what's going to come out. And when you have like a direction already, like if we were making a more tailored story and you said, in this particular house, this is going to happen in this way, then I already have a set of guidelines that I just know I need to hit. But because I don't know at what point I'm going to be exploring this house in the game, maybe it's early on, maybe it's later on, I don't know what beats to put in there, so I have to make it interesting enough that it kind of apply at any given point in the game, right?
Yeah.
So those are the kind of things that made it really, really easy, and at the same time hard, because you just have to think of like so many different like vignettes and storytelling moments in like what is essentially like a full open world map. Yeah.
Well, Kendrin71 says the visual storytelling is awesome. By the way, she really appreciates. I think it's a woman. I don't know. This person really appreciates what you and the rest of the team has accomplished.
Thanks.
Here.
I really appreciate it. Yeah, there's some really cool stuff in this map. One of my favorite ones too is in. I can't.
Tucker County?
No. Cascade Hills. I'm sorry. I keep thinking of code names.
Yeah, exactly. We got all the internal names for everything.
So yeah, and that one is near the quarry. There's a gas station, and there's a shipping container that if you went and explored, you could tell that there was like a father and son that lived there.
Wow.
You wouldn't be able to tell, and based on the elements that we have, like some board games and stuff, and like some elements that kind of hint at like they lost the mom or something like that, and they were living here, and the teenager got upset at one point, left, and you can find the teenager stuff like just down the block in one of the billboards. Like he went and camped out there.
Oh, wow.
So there's like elements tying those two together, but it's the kind of thing like you're not really gonna notice 100% unless you're looking for that stuff.
Yeah.
But
and you might not pick up on that exact story, but I've definitely had a lot of experiences just playing this game, not knowing what to expect from from the map. Like, I'll start out focused on just my needs. Like, I'm going out here to find fuel or something like that. I'll start with very sort of normal kinds of boring needs. But then something will catch my eye in the environment, and I'll start exploring and wondering what was going on here.
And most players, most people won't like necessarily absorb them in that way, but they'll see them, and subconsciously, we know that you'll just start absorbing that kind of like rich history behind these areas. So I'm trying to there's no cars around here.
So while you're, there's a car to the east.
There we go.
While you're looking for cars, let's actually reveal the winners of our quiz. So, what city is Luis originally from? He is from beautiful Cancun, Mexico.
Yep.
Which is pictured here. And so a lot of people got it, but let's see here. On Twitch, our winner is Jet Fury. And on Mixer, our winner is C-Cone. C-Cone 7786531. So, congratulations to you guys. So Jen and Megan will find a way to we'll find a way to get in contact with you and get you those codes. And thank you for playing. Another 10 minutes or so, we'll do another giveaway. So be on the lookout for that. And in the meantime, actually, before I go, I should probably get rid of this and get ready for the next question. So, if you have not read the article about Luis yet, go and do that because you want to be able to answer quickly and get to be like the top 10 folks.
This is all the cars are busted. This is a long save, I'm assuming. So, this is also like a really good area in this like neighborhood. You get a sense of history here. And it's mostly like when it early hit on, maybe you start seeing like a lot of cars being loaded into near their entrances, and so luggage and things like that getting like just loaded into the cars, but abandoned.
Oh wow! So some of the visual storytelling that you guys do is really elaborate, and some of it is just very simple. It's just you could have put anything in this spot. You chose this, and this is what you had in mind.
Exactly, like. Some of these blend together. There's so many, but yeah, you can start seeing. I know this neighborhood in general. The idea was, stuff is definitely the news got out. They're trying to like get out of here, so a lot of the cars are near the entrances of the houses because they're just loading as many things as they can probably get away with. And then they just like didn't make it out. There's like a set of cars that are loaded with luggage. I forget exactly which ones. I think it's this one over here.
Exhausted.
Yeah, here we go. So you can see, like, they started loading their cooler.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no, there's another one. Yeah, every single house here pretty much has the same kind of general storytelling happening inside of it.
You see people trying to get out and questions about whether they succeeded.
Exactly. If you hear it on the news or something, the first thought is, like, get your car, pack, like, essentials, and let's get out, right? So yeah. That was the idea behind this, and all the crash and all the clusters that are in the street were a direct result of just people panicking and just, crashing into each other as they were trying to leave. Oh, is that a police car? I think that's a police car. There we go.
Oh, nice. Okay. Now we're set. So yeah, if there's any other like vignettes that come to mind, let's track them down and
this is a really good one too. That I didn't work on this one. One of the other guys did, and I love this one in particular. Just going up into this door back here.
Whoa, whoa, don't make it. Oh no!
Oh, man, I just found a car too.
Oh, this is the worst! Yeah, what we needed was a ramp in that spot.
Yep. I wonder who could have done that. I think I'm getting it. We got it.
It's weird that having your car upside down is actually an improvement over having it high-centered.
Oh, there we go.
In real life, having your car upside down is worse than having it high-centered.
Yep.
Not in our game.
So here, this one I love in particular because it tells like a standoff story, right? You have like all these barricades that were put in here to prevent people from coming in. There's like a whole bunch of like bullets and debris happening, and then you can kind of see that the building, they just like set up watch up there. So as people came in, they would get shot away. Like it was like, don't come here. This was not a friendly group of people that took over because this is a gun shop. So they just wanted all the resources for themselves. By the way,
this is an outpost for us, and so if you go inside, you can probably get some medical supplies for yourself.
Let's do that. So those are the kind of stuff, and you'll just see them like sprinkled everywhere in the world, like from complicated like that to just some subtle stuff like a couple of resources left behind or things of that sort.
We got a question from, this is not really about world building, but Challenger for Gaming asks, can we have a bearded character with brown hair so when I'm mad at my husband I can pretend it's him and have a feral eat him? Please, thanks. So we actually rejected beards. We had, you can see even in like our first trailer, we thought we were going to have characters with beards in the game, but then it just turned out we couldn't quite get them to the point where we were happy with the way they always looked. And so we cut beards from the game, and so specifically, no, we can't actually offer bearded characters.
Hair is a tricky thing to do in games, and
yeah.
A lot of people don't know how complicated. It doesn't seem like it would be that complicated, but it is one of those things that is just really hard to make look good. So that's why you see a lot of, like really short hair character designs in games.
Characters with braids,
yeah,
and stuff like that. Yeah, it's easier to make look right. There's like so you're saying that we shouldn't come up with a new IP where the entire world is covered with hair. That would probably make you unhappy.
Well, you can if that's your entire focus, right? Is to make the hair look really good.
It's like if it's like Hair the game.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So, yeah, so you can kind of see, right? They have their outpost up here. They have like their area where they just like would chill, hang out, but keep a lookout on anybody coming over. They did not want anybody to take over this this building at all.
14 Rocket on Twitch points out that Sasquatch, who was a character in State of Decay Lifeline, and who may show up a little bit in State of Decay 2, has a beard, and that's true. But you'll notice that in State of Decay 2, you only hear from Sasquatch over the radio. You don't actually see him in person, and we're trying to meet a different visual standard with our characters in State of Decay 2 than we did before. We've talked before about how we use face scanning technology for the first time to really get legitimate, realistic human faces. And so when you have to, when you're choosing your level of visual fidelity, you have to do it evenly, right? Like you can't have, raise the fidelity of the faces and have the hair still look like it's, or the beard still look like it's last generation.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a challenge because you want to make your best possible thing, but if you make one best possible thing, then everything has to be best possible thing.
Yeah,
right?
And characters are usually the thing that you'll like laser focus on. So you want everything on them to be consistent.
Yeah, our brains are designed to look for flaws in human faces.
Yeah. Well, you know what a face looks like, so the minute it's something like is off, even if you don't know what it is, you immediately can tell like that just doesn't look right. So
yeah. You might not be able to explain to somebody what's wrong, but you know it's definitely wrong.
Exactly. That was good.
Blaze Experience says that one of his little favorite neighborhoods in the game is in Drucker County. He says that he loved that there's a closed road that leads to a bunch of unfinished houses, like it was a neighborhood under construction. Yeah. He wondered if you had anything to do with that one, or if you.
No, not that one. That one, Drucker was mostly Josiah working on that one. Might have been Tom, I think, that was here for a couple months helping on some of the set dressing for that. But no, I did. I helped a little bit on the downtown area in that map near the hospital. I helped a little bit on that part, but here it is. I passed it.
You've touched every map, but probably the one that got the most of your focus is probably here, Meager Valley. Right?
This one and Cascade Hills are the two maps that I was mostly responsible for. So here's like, let's get out of here. I'm hoping they're not gonna kill me. Here's another example of like putting a little like what do you call breadcrumbs? Oh yeah, breadcrumbing. So
yeah. Do you want to explain a little bit what you mean by breadcrumbing?
Yeah. So it's like putting in a. Let me get rid of these guys.
Oh yeah. I could. While you're fighting them, I can take a guess at what you're gonna say.
Oh yeah, go for it.
So I imagine the breadcrumbing is when you you'll put like the real attraction thing you want players to look at it is in one place, but you'll put other things to get their attention around it leading up to it.
Yes.
So if they notice one of those things, it could kind of guide them into seeing what it is you really want them to see.
Exactly.
That seem like a fair
no, totally. So this is a good example of like a set dressing that we did for, hopefully if you caught onto it, you would find this place. Does it come up in the? It does come up. So some of the stuff is given away by the map itself.
Sorry, that's kind of my fault.
But originally it was intended for a lot of these places to be just stumbled upon them, and it's been a little while, so let me find it. If you're here, you start seeing like dead carcasses and things like leading up the hill. Where are they? And eventually, you just stumble upon the camp, right? And there's one of them, but it's a lot easier to see during the daylight.
Are they animal carcasses?
There's animal ones, and because like the idea was that people would hunt and bring back the meat and stuff, and they would just like leave the bones there. But there's like a couple of like zombie bodies that are just left.
I see little pieces there. Yeah,
you can start seeing the bones and stuff like that. So you like start finding them down.
Interesting.
Down here, we left a couple of like dried up blood trails. Also, it's hard to tell right now in the nighttime, but eventually, like, and once you get up here enough, then you would just stumble upon like a camp that would yield. I think there's some like good weapons in here.
And a good zombie wearing a good hoodie.
Oh, he saw me. So,
Mythical Ski asks, why can't you leave your car's lights on when you get out of it for nighttime scavenging? I imagine that's probably a resource issue, right? Because if you can leave the lights on in one car, you can leave lights on in 9 cars.
Yeah, it's probably a performance thing, but I'm not sure. I wasn't involved with that part of it, but a light is expensive, so
like, I imagine you probably had restrictions on like what glowing things you could put in the world, like the fact you couldn't really put.
It's actually interesting lights. on the environment side. We completely relied on no lighting because we knew like electricity is not really a thing in this world. That's like one of the things that coming into designing maps and looks and environments for this, like, well, if lights are not a thing, then nighttime, how do you traverse, especially if we're going with a very dark theme, making sure that you can get a hint of silhouettes. That's how like you can kind of see the vista, like getting a really nice sense of breakup, having like tension wires help you establish yourself. If you're paying attention to your surroundings, like you can kind of tell where you're headed. Things like the mini map and the main map itself, they just help us accentuate where we wanted you to go and for you to get a. I'm kind of bad with some of the English words, so like get your bearings. Get your foot. Yeah, exactly. Get your bearings on where you are. But when we're designing it, we don't have those tools. At least we're not trying to rely on them. So we're trying to rely on what you're seeing on the viewport entirely for you to be able to navigate. So lights was something that was not even crossing our mind. If they came in, it's a plus. Yeah. But it wasn't a thing that we were relying on, like, oh, you're always going to have lights from your cars and I can leave it on and then go do things with them on or anything like that. We just assumed that was not a thing.
Yeah, and we also very consciously put in the option to turn off the minimap. So if the players want to, they don't have to rely on the minimap.
Oh, we do?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
You can do that in the settings menu, yeah. So players can, if they really want to rely heavily on just referencing the larger map, and then just playing through the environment, they totally can do that.
Oh, that's one of the things where like so many moving parts in a project, like you're not aware of all of them. I did not know you could turn off the minimap.
But to answer, to give sort of a concise answer to the question, lights are expensive performance-wise. The more lights that we allow in the world, the more other trade-offs we have to make. And so in order to support things like the zombie populations we wanted, the poly counts we wanted, everything else we wanted, we had to be pretty tight with the number of lights you can leave on at a time. And so doing things like basically saying that you've got one light at a time that you can control. You've got the light on your car or the light on your backpack, and that's it. You can't have those lights and other lights all interacting with each other because that just starts to really kind of balloon the performance problem.
And it plays into the mood of like just the aspect of being
darkness.
Being a little bit like by yourself, stuff like that. So beyond the technical limitations, there's also like an atmosphere and a kind of like a mood that we want to evoke.
Yeah,
and
that's
that
true.
Just so happens to play nicely with the performance restrictions that we ended up having.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
That's a little bit of what making games is, like evoking the things you want to evoke with the game you're making and leveraging the restrictions that you have on top of that.
Yeah, it's like finding an ecological niche. It's like if you find a concept in a game that is both.
Okay, I don't have a gun.
that is both aesthetically interesting and thematically meaningful, and at the same time is performant. You found a thing that you should make.
Exactly.
We should do another trivia question real quick while you're home. So let's go into quiz mode. Okay, so new question. If you've been reading the article that we posted about our profile, basically, of Luis, then you should know the answer to this question. What Oculus Rift game did Luis work on? So before he joined our team, Luis was on a different team. We recruited him away, and it was a real-time strategy game on the Oculus Rift. If you guys know what game it is, chime in, and the first 10 or so will have a shot at getting a prize. So Jen and Megan are going to be watching your responses, and hopefully we'll see some right answers. We might have seen some already, so let's get back over here and see what's going on.
I think, all right, we can do her mission now, finally.
Oh, yeah. My Aunt the Prepper. Oh, it's way up there in the north.
Finally have a car, though, so.
So do you have enough medical supplies and stuff like that? Let's see here.
Have explosive. Okay, hold on. Let me.
Yeah, let's drop off our seeds and get our medical supplies. And... But yeah, you can see like when you're using that flashlight indoors, you can see like the shadows that are being cast on the wall. Like all of that is complicated math that the computer has to do to figure out what object is what brightness, and getting it right is extremely difficult. It's easy to take for granted because most of the time, by the time a game comes out, a lot of its major lighting issues have been solved. But before a game comes out, it's just full of disasters. Like one of my favorite bugs that we frequently had early on in development was, and I'm not even sure what caused this, but there was some material, like bright green material, that would sometimes show up by accident on objects that was so bright that it would like cause like massive lens flare on the camera. It
was like part of the lighting stuff. Like it was part of our lighting solution. Like sometimes it just wouldn't be happy with. Or actually, I think it was some. Matt would probably know better about this. Yeah. But I thought it was something where it thought it was correct, but the values were completely out of whack. So once it got into a certain angle, then it would just like
it would just light up like
it would look like disco. Like it just like it was weird.
Yeah, you'd be looking in one direction and then just for no reason, this just green like spotlight is in your face from a random part of the environment, and it was hilarious.
It looked really cool if it was a sci-fi game. That would have looked like a really good effect, but
yeah, it could have been inspiration for it. Yeah, if this was No Man's Sky, it would be perfect. But yeah. Oh, it looks like. It looks like we got a couple winners here. So while you're going through the inventory, let's look at the right answers. So what Oculus Rift game did Luis work on? It was Brass Tactics. Fantastic Brass Tactics.
Brass Tactics
was the game they worked on. So we've got a couple of folks got the right answer. We got a bunch of folks got the right answer, but there are a couple of winners on Twitch. 14 Rocket got the right answer. So congratulations to you, 14 Rocket. And over on Mixer, Blaze Experience. Got it. So nice work. Nice work there, Derek. So we've got a couple of winners. So again, Jen and Megan will work out how we're going to get the prize to you guys, and we're going to do one more giveaway at the very end. And this, yeah. So we'll do one more giveaway at the very end. And for now, let's go back to the game.
Some medicine. Got bandages. There's bandage. And what else might we need?
Black Ops wonders if we can turn on the house lights during the daytime because it's dark in there. That's a good question. I'm not sure what performance restrictions could be in play there, but yeah, we'll have to.
I think if you, I've never had this in my personal community, but I think if you have power going to your base, you have the lights, right?
You have the lights at night. I'm not sure if you have them during the day. So,
okay.
By the way, I am starting to see some, I think my capture card is now and then hitting some hitches. Those hitches are not happening in the game. They're just happening in our output. So sorry about that. It looks like they've calmed down now. But now and then we just get these weird spikes coming from our capture card, and I'm really not sure what causes them. But yeah, looks like we're back to normal, so that's good. Sean Malco wants to know from both of us, what are our favorite weapons and vehicles to use in State of Decay 2? Do you have favorites?
I love the wrench and the crowbar. I'm a melee guy, so when it comes to, because like guns make so much noise that I just like, I'm always afraid of attracting too many zombies.
Yeah.
So I like trying to sneak up and just kill them, and I like the crowbar and the wrench because they last like pretty long. So,
yeah.
So it allows me to like go around a little bit longer without having to go back to base. Those are my favorite ones. And what was the other part?
Oh, the other question was favorite vehicles to use.
Favorite vehicles. So I'm not a vehicle guy at all.
You like to sneak around on foot?
I actually like to traverse on foot. So when we were designing the maps too, I would have James, who loves like driving around in vehicles and stuff like that, like go and test out some of the stuff I had done because I hadn't really ran around in it on foot. I knew on foot it was fine, but on vehicle I wasn't sure how it would translate, and I would try it myself, but being that I know as a gamer I don't use vehicles that much, I'm like, I need somebody that would really exploit this with a vehicle to try it out.
So for me, I think so. When I'm trying to be practical, usually I do tend to prefer bladed weapons over melee blunt weapons. And so when I'm trying to be really practical, I'll try to bring something that's nice and durable, and I'll get a nice, like a truck or a van that's got like a whole ton of space for inventory, but those aren't really my favorites. My favorite thing to do is actually to drive around in a sports car or a muscle car, and actually travel light. Like I really like to get a character who's got marathon or maybe discipline, and start them with a very light bladed weapon like a kukri. And get them the ultralight pack, and just have them be extremely light on their feet, tons of stamina, and so probably the kukri and the sports car these days have kind of become my favorite tools to take out on the road.
Yeah, there's a car. I don't remember the name of the car, but it's one that doesn't. I think it might be the survey car, because it doesn't have a lot of capacity, but it doesn't use up fuel as fast as some of the other ones.
That's right.
So when I do need to get across the map fast, I think I end up using that one. So I always keep one of the survey cars in my community.
That's a good idea, yeah.
But I haven't been able to level up enough my community to actually like upgrade them or anything like that. So it's just the vanilla version of them.
Yeah, I usually end up buying my vehicle upgrade kits rather than specializing somebody in it.
Well, I've specialized them here at work. Because I have more hours put into my games here at work than at home, but at home I haven't been able to like upgrade them.
So Han Solodola wants to know, why can't we shoot through car windows, or maybe swing melee weapons in the back of pickups? I think that comes down to it's an animation issue. You know, we're hitting the ceiling, both of the number of animations we had the time and staff to create, and also the number of animations we can cram into our memory budgets. And so, if you think about it, a character fighting it from a car, either aiming a gun out of a window and aiming it around involves a lot of different poses and a lot of different animations, more than you'd really even think, because you have complete control over the direction that character's shooting. When their feet are planted on the ground and they can just rotate their bodies, then you only have to animate them to be aiming up and down, and you've got to animate the foot shuffle. If you're trying to get them to aim out of a car window, there's a lot of complexity to trying to make that work, and it takes a ton of effort and a ton of individual animations to make something that complicated work. I'm not explaining it as well as a member of the animation team would if they were here, but it was about that, like because we loved the idea when we were planning early on, and we didn't really know, we hadn't run into our resource constraints yet. We loved the idea of doing that, but it just ended up not being worth it first of all, because of that, the animation resource issue. It's just, that's a lot of animations. And then second of all, it's hard to be really accurate when you're aiming a gun out of a car.
It is. Especially if you're not the one driving, because your friend's driving, you're like, no, hold still.
And this is a game where you can run out of ammo so quickly.
Yeah, ammo is a luxury in this game. It's not a given resource.
Yeah, you don't want to just fire like crazy. Now, there's a few people probably in our chat who do have like literally 9,000 of every ammo type, but you're rare. You're in the minority, and usually a character can't carry a lot with them, even if you can have a lot at home. So that's sort of, it ended up being kind of low priority because we figured it's not actually optimal gameplay anyway, and it's incredibly expensive. And I didn't even bring up the fact that, aiming a pistol versus a rifle versus a submachine gun out of a window of a car, all of those are very different from each other.
Yes.
So again, even more animations. So let's see here.
No, it's great hearing questions like that, because it just, we hit a quality bar across the board that just makes them think of other games that just, it's a given.
Yeah.
And so you're like, I love that people are asking us that, because it means like they're just expecting it, because we're just there like, why didn't you just? We're a small team, so we couldn't, we had to like prioritize other things in order to get the core experience of what we wanted.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. There are definitely games where, being able to shoot out of a car is a priority, and so you make other sacrifices elsewhere to make sure that that's possible. But in our case, because it wasn't optimal gameplay and it wasn't really the heart of our game, it was easy to say, well, let's not do that, because then we can do something else instead. True Bulgarian was amused by the way that you said, I have more hours into my game at work than I have at home. Because that's not an experience most of us get to have. So, he thought that was amusing. So Dusty26 wants to know, is there a limit to how many survivors the game saves for you to choose from previous communities? So I just asked somebody that question at the office yesterday, and it looks like
it's 3, right? You bring over 3?
Oh, so you can bring over 3 at once into a given community, but they're wondering if I just keep completing legacies and I keep building up old characters from old communities and piling them up infinitely, like where does it end? And as far as we can tell, unless something happened that nobody knows about, it should be infinite. Like, you really actually, there should be no limit to how many characters you can pile up there. Your save file will get larger and larger and larger, but you know, basically we don't really throw any of that stuff away. There's lots of places in the game where we have to put limits on things, like, you know, the number of things you can keep in your inventory or something like that. Like, we can, you know, we try to make the limits arbitrarily high, like it's so ridiculously high that you'd have to do something insane in order to reach them. So for most players, effectively there's no limit, but usually for in-game stuff, where, you know, something is being, you know, has to be actually held in memory while you're playing the game, we have to put a limit on it somewhere. You know, number of drop bags you can have out in the environment, number of dead bodies you can have in the environment. We have to put limits on those so that, you know, so that you can't just do something weird that grinds the game to a halt. But characters that are stored in your save is kind of a different issue. We didn't need to put a limit on it, so we didn't. So, yeah, so go ahead and now tell us if something happened we didn't expect and it doesn't work the way we think it does. But as far as we know, you should be able to just keep legacying and just keep piling up characters. And eventually, you know, it'll just get unfeasible to manage that number of characters. But that'll be the only limit, is your sanity. Oh, so P1 Gamer wants to know, are the Independence DLC zombies getting removed and replaced at some point? You know what? I believe that, yeah, the plan was for those. Well, the plan was always for those guys to be sort of a temporary event. I don't know exactly when or under what conditions they would leave the game, but we were always thinking those being temporary. And it does look like we're hitting another one of those weird performance spikes on our capture card. So sorry about that. Let's actually, while that's going on, let's switch over to do our final quiz question before we wrap up. And our final quiz question is a very important one. What is Luis's dog named? So if you read the article that we posted, you know, you'll see it's not. It doesn't say Luis's dog is named X. It doesn't actually say that in the article, but there is a reference to the dog by name, and so you should be able to figure it out. So we'll see if folks can figure that out, and we will be back. If it helps at all, she's a corgi, and she's adorable.
What are we gonna do about it? See now, okay, we can go get that infection.
Okay, yeah. So we'll do one last thing here. So yeah, so we got time for if somebody's got one amazing last minute question. We got a few minutes to pull it off. Oh, I should mention, by the way, this last question, there's only going to be one winner because we only got one code left. So between Mixer and Twitch, we're actually going to combine the winners and make a random roll. So there's only going to be one prize for this last question.
I was going to say I really busted up the police car, but no, that's not it.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, I'm pretty impressed that this police car has stayed in fairly good condition.
I know.
The entire time. Yeah, I'm really gonna need to sort of put some personal time into sort of getting this community shined up and in better shape for the next.
Like you can tell how much this community has been played because the zombies won't leave me alone, which means that you're really into the game at this point.
Yeah, progressed. Yeah.
And I can't find cars, which means that you found probably most of them.
Yeah. Real Trevstorm wants to know what is our favorite leader type, each of us. Do you have a favorite leader type?
I really like the sheriff.
You know, that's what I was going to say too. Honestly, yeah.
I think it's one of the most common ones. I like the sheriff and I like the warlord because the warlord just exposed so many aspects of the game that I hadn't really experienced. So those two are my favorite. Starting with the sheriff.
Yeah, I think the sheriff's my favorite too. Honestly, like when we were first planning the leader system, the sheriff was the first one we thought of.
Oh, really?
Like whenever we were sort of giving people examples, like, oh, this is how it will work. You'll have a character who can become a sheriff, and sheriff was just always the one we thought of because it was the most interesting one. It's the one that felt like, you know, that you were really sort of trying to replace what had been lost. You know, when society fell, you know, the thing that we lost was law and order. The thing we lost was sort of being able to rely on somebody to come and save you when there was problems. And so the idea of wanting to become that for other people was such a compelling thought that it was a favorite. Oh, 14 Rocket has another really good question right before the end here. Are there any places that you would like to draw inspiration from that isn't like, you know, that isn't sort of the Midwestern setting that we've had so far. Like if you could sort of choose a place in the world to represent in a future map, and again, not promising we'll actually do this. what is a cool environment you would love to work in?
I like a lot of my art is more urban based, so I do like dense populated areas and like large structures with like skyscrapers and stuff like that. So like New York City, I love New York City's architecture and the way the pathing on the streets and stuff like that, the way that works. So
is it about the architecture and the city planning and stuff?
It's the way of like the building, what the buildings look like, how they just like are imposing, and because as an environment artist, I think it's really hard to turn off that part of the brain of like looking at how things are laid out in the world, how like the storytelling being told inside in them and everything. So just looking around, you look at a city, there's so much design thought put into how does the street flow, how do you keep pedestrians here, what is the purpose of this dual street, and that kind of stuff is just the things that I really enjoy doing. So big cities, and I've always lived in big cities. Yeah. Being originally from Mexico City itself is like it's the kind of thing that I feel at home with. So the Midwestern, like open, more rural kind of environment was definitely a little bit more of a challenge for me, because it was about less, and how do you do with less and still kind of portray that sense of like history and setting. Yeah,
and while I think most players in America anyway, technically, most people live in cities. Most people live in kind of smaller cities, and there's one New York City in the United States. There's one San Francisco. There's one these very big grids of tall buildings. But then a lot of people live in smaller cities, and which make these kinds of environments where you got a lot of suburbs and you've got a lot of rural areas that feel those feel very familiar to typical Americans, and so the dream of living in the actual dense center of a big city. It is sort of fantastical, I think, for a lot of
people. No, it was great. I ended up doing a couple of just day trips out to outside of the city when I was working early on this, to just take a look at the fields and try to find, like, for example, for this map, like some farmland and stuff like that. So just get inspiration of what it looked like, and how do we condense that into a game version, because you don't want a super empty field of nothing to do, right? You have to kind of like try to evoke that, and then have the pacing of traversal be just right enough so that you're always finding something to do.
Yeah, like go to a place like Crater Lake, and what's really impressive about it is how enormous it is. But for a game, having something literally be that enormous is just a problem. You can't set a lot of gameplay there unless your character is actually a mile tall.
Exactly. So yeah, that's one of the things that we were looking at was just pacing of gameplay between areas. So like, how often do you hit a house? How often do you hit a shed? How often do you hit that stuff? So there was always something that you were able to do without like a lot of downtime in between. But we do have areas of downtime, so you get a chance to breathe.
So we are about out of time. So let's announce the winner for our question. So the question was, what is Luis's dog name? And she's a corgi, and her name is you say Kyra or Kira?
Kira.
It's Kira. So we got Kira the corgi. I don't know if it's corgi or corgi, actually.
I don't know. I think it's corgi, but
corgi?
But I've been proven wrong. I've been proven wrong in English words before. So
well, I've been proven wrong in English words, so it's not just you. But anyway, our winner is Storm Barrier on Mixer. So congratulations, Storm Barrier. Thanks for playing and for reading the article, and and thank you for having an adorable doggo and bring her to the office now and then. So we are getting close to the end. We do have another comment from Challenger 4 Gaming. She says, "My husband reset the modem from his work, causing my stream to stop. See, this is why I need to kill him in a video game." So appreciate that. And
my corgi does that.
Yeah, no, seriously.
She'll lay on the cables, and suddenly I'm like without internet or something. Is because she pulled it.
One of our streams, actually, right towards the end, got interrupted because my son signed in with my gamer tag at home, and which kicked me out here. So luckily, like we've actually been having internet problems with our Xbox at home.
Okay.
And so I was about to send my wife the usual reminder: please keep the boy away from the Xbox. And but then I realized, oh wait, no, it's disconnected from the internet. It's fine. He can do whatever the crap he wants, and we'll be okay. Anyway, so I guess the stream is done. It's 2:04 actually. We're done a
Awesome.
little bit over. So go ahead and pause the game, and you know I'll worry about cleaning up the characters and get everything. But thank you so much to Luis for coming here today and chatting with us. So if you haven't gone and checked that out yet, go look for our Developer of the Month article on Luis, and also his social media Q&A. And we're going to keep doing this every month, you know, spotlighting different people in the community.
Yeah, the different areas of development. That'd be really cool.
So anyway.
Awesome.
Yeah,
cool.
thank you. And
well, thanks everybody.
Yep, and we will see you all later.